In note mode, you use Push's pads to play notes, play and program drums, and record into loops that will become the parts of your song.
What's up? You got your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe, because today we're going to be talking about the one, the only, Ableton Push. What had happened was... So the year is 2013, and music production companies were coming up with new ideas. Korg came out with their Volca series, which was a series of analog groove boxes that might have been bite-sized in appearance, but they gave folks tremendous amount of fun as far as their music production capabilities. Roland came out with the VT12, a pocket-sized vocal training machine that actually helped train singers improve their vocal skills. And the Kai, not only improving their MIDI controller range they came out with, but they also came out with some new headphones. Akai came out with some headphones, and they were pretty dope. So 2013 was an interesting year for production. A lot of companies were putting both feet into the water, and the DAW market was even better. Pro Tools was still considered the industry standard. FL Studio was not far behind and rapidly becoming the young man's choice for music production. Studio One was bringing its creative platform to the table. And Ableton, yes, Ableton Live, wanted to bring something different to the music production space. Now, for years, Ableton Live was known as the Live DAW, hence the name Ableton Live. This DAW was supposed to be the weapon of choice for artists and musicians who were comfortable creating their music in a live platform. Ableton wanted you to be comfortable. It's kind of like a long road trip, coming back home from a family reunion from Boston, Massachusetts, with a cousin you just met. Everything is cool, you're jamming to your music and stuff, and you notice your cousin's kind of quiet, and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, I've been listening to a lot of my music. Let me see what kind of music they like. And you're like, hey, you want to listen to your music? If anything, I could turn off the radio station and you could play what you got on your phone. And they're like, nah, that's okay. I'm enjoying what you're listening to. It's okay. And you're like, no, for real. I want you to be comfortable. So they're like, okay. So you plug in the adapter to their phone to listen to their music through your car speakers. And when you hear the music, you notice that they're really into musicals. I mean, like, all musicals. So you're like on this long ride home from Boston, Massachusetts, listening to hours of the Cats musical and the Lion King. You're like, what the hell is going on here? And your cousin's having a blast. They're in the car jamming to it, singing the songs, and they're having the most wonderful time in their life. And you can't turn it off. They're jamming out there for like 5 hours, and it's driving you insane. That's how comfortable Ableton wanted their users to be with their platform. Tons of DJs loved Ableton Live. I think we all could remember the Jazzy Jeff Ableton Live video where he was talking about the DAW and he was mentioning all the cool stuff Ableton Live could do at the time. Like, for instance, grabbing pieces from your sample as the WAV file is playing on the arranger page and dropping them down into the sampler section of the DAW. So that when you hit your MIDI controller, like if you hit the pads, you'll trigger the sample live. You don't have to stop anything, you just keep going. This was extraordinary. We were shocked. And because of that interview and Ableton catering to the live aspect of music production, a lot of artists that enjoyed playing music live purchased the DAW. And because of this, to play live, everybody was using their own MIDI controller to control the DAW. Whether it was an Akai MPK, a Korg pad control, a MIDI controller keyboard of some sorts. Everybody had a MIDI controller controlling Ableton Live. And it was all good. The way to sync the DAW into all the knobs and faders of your controller was pretty smooth. Now, that was great for the user, but for the company, it kind of lifted an eyebrow. They noticed that, wow, all these folks is using our DAW to play their controllers live. Why don't we get into the space and create our own kind of controller? Bingo! And in 2013, Ableton released one of the most revolutionary products it ever produced, and that was the Ableton Push. You're getting velocity sensitive and pressure sensitive pads with aftertouch. You know what this means, right? Now you can bang out on your pads with the musical expression you so desire. You're getting a built-in step sequencer, which allows you to play and sequence at the same time. You're getting a touch strip. Can you believe it? The Ableton Push had a touch strip way back in 2013. There are products coming out right now promoting the touch strip. You're getting real-time controls like pressure-sensitive repeat and real-time swing. You have a built-in browser that allows you to browse the sounds on the Ableton Live DAW seamlessly. You get 9 controller encoders, dedicated time signature buttons for instant use, and you get the magnificent isomorphic keyboard note layout, which makes playing any instrument a breeze. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Ableton Push was released, people were like, I don't know about this one. It looked like Connect 4. Remember the game Connect 4? It looked like Connect 4. People was like, listen, I understand the Akai APC layout. Like, I know where my track is supposed to be. I know where my record button is, my mute button is, my fader is. I get it. I know the Novation circuit layout. I understand that layout. I get it. But when I'm looking at the Ableton Push, for some reason, it reminds me of a game of checkers. People were skeptical about the Push. It just didn't look like it could do what you needed it to do until they started hearing birds chirping. Birds were chirping all over the place. And these folks were saying, hey, I never been so creative on a controller until I used the Push. The layout was just perfect. The Push went deep into the controls of the Ableton universe. You could utilize all special kind of features and parameter tweaks with the units that you couldn't on any old MIDI controller. Push brought Ableton Live to life. Not only did you get your conventional linear DAW kind of workflow, and you also had the clip launching workflow, but now you had an MPC/machine type workflow that worked perfectly in unison with the DAW. Push was so great that some users were calling it the machine killer. The Push was the perfect device for Ableton, and it wasn't like they were competing with Machine or Akai MPC. Matter of fact, they went to Jack O'Donnell from Akai to get assistance in building the Push. I mean, Ableton had it locked down when it came to the DAW, but when it came to hardware controllers, they weren't really that familiar with this space. It's kind of like the first time you went to a fast food restaurant like McDonald's and had to order through the computer kiosk machine. Like, you know, the first time you saw it, you know what I'm saying? It's like you came back from a long drive home from visiting your relatives down at South Kakalaka. You're now at your hometown and you're just hungry. You just want to eat something. So you go up into the McDonald's and, you know, you see a line, so you decide to get online and wait. And you see them servicing people on your line and the people getting their food and going. And then all of a sudden, they choose someone that's behind you in the line. So you're thinking, okay, that was weird. You're like, okay, maybe the person was waiting by the side, so maybe they just got their order together and now it's their turn. No sweat, it's okay. So you're waiting, and then you see a lady enter the store and they service her before you. Now all of a sudden, you got the angry face on and you're like, listen, I'm hungry. I'm about to turn up in this joint. Why isn't anybody servicing me? And then you look at the guy behind the register and he gives you this sly little smirk, and then he chooses the other guy to the left of you and takes his order. So now you're enraged. Now you're the Incredible Hulk. No more Bruce Banner. And you start raising hell. You scream out, listen, I've been driving 12 hours straight, listening to Rent musicals and The Lion King. I want my food now. And then a lady taps you on your shoulder and she says, sir, you have to order at the kiosk machine. And you're like, what? She's like, yeah, you have to order at the computer over there, the touchscreen computer. Yeah, the computer will walk you through the steps. That's how unfamiliar Ableton users were with the push. So the workflow of the Ableton push is like this. You have the bottom left 16 yellow drum rack pads, the bottom 16 pads to the right for the loop length, and the top 4 rows of pads is your step sequencer. And to use the step sequencer, just hit one of the yellow bottom pads and hit a spot on the top step sequencer. The sequence will start to play and you just use it like a regular step sequencer. The grid buttons on the right determine the length of your sequence, and any button you press, the parameters will pop up on the browser screen. When the Ableton push came out, it was about $5.99. And with the Live 9 suite, it came to about $1,200. And a lot of folks weren't so happy with that. They were used to paying a fraction of the price for other MIDI controllers. So they kind of was like, why is the Ableton push so expensive? But after actually using the controller with the Ableton DAW, you quickly realize how useful the Ableton push was, and folks lined up around the world to purchase an Ableton push. The Ableton push was so dope of a controller, the next year it actually helped Ableton Live win the Best DAW of the Year award from musictech.net. Ableton push has been so influential in music production, period, that it led to the developments of the Push 2 and even the Akai Force, where people love that Connect 4 kind of layout. So yeah, that's the Ableton push. What had happened was... So this is your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to go down low in the description and get that MPC1 Hidden Strategies, where I'm giving you a free MPC 4000 sound library. It doesn't exist anymore. Over a gig of sounds. You know what I'm saying? Put that joint on your MPC1 and you are good. So this is your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe. And I'm signing off.